Stars, what is the throne? Ultimately, why do so many people put so many resources and their entire lives into this piece of furniture? Or have we missed the point the whole time? In the game of royalty, women are the true throne, right? From Henry VIII and his cruelty, farming people out of women's bodies. Women are the goal, the answer, the future. And all the male privilege in the world, all the patriarchy cannot replace them. And therefore, all this drama, all this effort, all these resources poured into finding and locking down the best, the most exclusive, the most posh woman you can control, subjugate, and make people out of. Well, that's what the true drama is all about, because any man, a group of men, they can collect all the resources, all the money in the world, but what are they going to do with it? After a certain number of years, they going to be gone. They need women to continue that legacy and move that property, those rights, whether unjustly procured, to push them right down the line, primarily to their heir. But, there's some trickle down for the spares and the ones that come after the spares, right? The reason why we're so fascinated by the relative over half out status of Kate Middleton is because on a certain level she seems to have won this pathway to being the queen. How did it happen? Why did it happen? Why was it down to her? Well, some people think William only married Kate because nobody else would do it. Now that might be unkind, but is it hyperbole? Is it exaggeration to say that? The two were only a few years out of university when they broke up. William was also very slow in introducing Kate into royal life. It's also been said that William's friends were quite rude to Kate in the early days and treated her like a striver, a social climber, a nobody, a commoner, someone who William would move on from to a more suitable partner. But could he? There's a theory that most of his friends and his father and grandparents were unenthusiastic about Kate, in part because of her class and in part because they expected him to sow his oats for another decade or so. Father/grandparents, or are we just talking about, let's be honest, the kooky dudes in that family? Daddy Chuck, Uncle Andrew, Prince Philip. Let's not talk about the extended family, none of whom seem to be paragons of monogamy, commitment, fidelity. Yeah, I could see them looking at him, young William, so glorious in his resemblance to his late mother Diana, a full head of hair, his future opening up in front of him like a freshly bloomed orchid. No one was pulling him aside to tell him to lock Kate down. Quick, hurry up! But when they broke up, suddenly his male friends said, "Oh, old boy, we liked her. She was a good fit for you." His female friends, who might previously have been competitors to Kate, did they say, "Oh, actually, yeah, you should stick with Kate because we've realized we don't want the job." And his father and grandparents suddenly said, "Oh, that's too bad. She seemed fine, actually. But you'll find someone else, I'm sure. Good luck." Right? How did this dismissiveness toward Kate turn into, yes, she's the one. Let's elevate her to future queen, right? There may have been an odd Texan heiress somewhere in the mix, and certainly we know the names of some of the women that William dated post-college. why would any of these posh women want the job of spouse to William? The people in their circle know even more than we do about the dirty laundry, the downsides, and the outright dangers than we do. They have seen William be harassed or have to be paranoid about photos or have to go home from parties because he has a photo call at 9 a.m. I know, boo-hoo, but let's empathize. Their mothers told them about Diana and what she went through, and these are women who are socially connected to other, better options, richer options without the public obligations. Is that why Prince William and Kate Middleton run away from public work and public responsibilities because it's frowned upon in their posh, turnip-toff circles? Given the choice between a highly constricted life as a royal princess and life as a multi-millionaire duchess or a real estate billionaire's wife, the choice could seem obvious. And if any of them think maybe it would be fun to be a princess, the press attention, the drama, the gowns, the 96 servants, merely being in William's orbit might quickly annoy them, right? It's like, it looks great when you see someone photographed by the press until you see what it looks like with the bright lights flashing and people yelling from their POV, right? And if you were able to love it, especially when William was genuinely attractive and his personality may have been a little bit brittle, but, maybe more than anything, he was just young and callow and a bit of a lad. Is that the correct way to say it? Eventually, Kate was the last woman standing, both because she maybe actually loved William for William, rather than just the idea of him, which could make it easier to put up with the downsides of royal life, but also because Kate wanted it very badly. What it was cannot be separated from the money, the status, the title, which in British circles is somehow very meaningful. When Kate and William broke up, it would seem like William realized that the Venn diagram of women who he could bring home to grandma and women who wanted to date him were both large circles, but they didn't really overlap a whole lot. Which, by the way, it's so funny that people assume Rose Hanbury is just waiting in the wings, desperate to marry William. Like, why would she want to be cyberbullied by 60 million people as a Camilla 2.0 and hang out with poor people when she has her own life, a huge estate to lounge around, and is clearly a much more interesting person than William is? Ouch. She was just a girl in an open marriage who wanted to say that she'd hooked up with the future king a few times in the 2010s. Really? Is that your calling card, given who you're married to? I don't know. I mean, there are skeptics who say that, Rose Hanbury has a history of trying to be famous, right? Think of our young Kim Kardashian, our young Paris Hilton, even Nicole Richie, even though she comes from fame and Paris comes from money. There's quite a lot of work that goes into going out in public, being photographed, wearing different outfits, getting the odd modeling gig, even vigorously networking with the likes of Tony Blair and other politicians and well-connected businessmen and aristocrats with actual fortunes and influence. But somehow Rose Hanbury ended up with an old man, just like Shira 7 tells us. Get them when they're old, they have money, they're worn out, and they really don't have much energy for doing much, if you know what I'm saying. But rumors have it that the Marquis of Cholmondeley was what you call a confirmed bachelor, with a special male friend in Paris, where he would spend most of the year. But the Marquis of Chumley was also pressed. David Rock Savage is his other name. Perhaps on certain apps. He was pressed to marry to reproduce an heir for his family's fortune. Get it? The throne can only be achieved through women and women's bodies. Right? Where would that fortune end up if he didn't, you know, bite his lower lip and think of England while he did the deed with someone who may not be his cup of tea? Mm-hmm. But Rose Hanbury still sought out William, the next door neighbor, and maybe him securing the estate next door to her was him reciprocating, right? Matching her energy, especially if she was willing to do certain exotic activities that maybe Kate Middleton wasn't interested in performing for her dear, sweet, 6'3" grown man husband. Maybe she didn't have the energy and the vigor to get it done, as it were. But if Rose Hanbury still sought out Will, and Rose Hanbury also befriended neighbor Kate under very similar circumstances to how Camilla tried to befriend Diana to keep tabs on her and also mess with her head, the better to take her place, perhaps. And Rose Hanbury trotting around, obsequiously curtsying and tee-heeing with Camilla in that Rose Hanbury curtsies to the Queen, Camilla, and Kate did not article written by Camilla's butt polishers at the Daily Mail. That seals for a lot of people that Rose Hanbury sued or cried to Will to make the meanie non-British media stop talking about her BS, because clearly she loves only positive butt polishing media attention and had never been subject to the negative consequences of her Camilla the Stallion 2.0 wannabe behavior. Right? Royals usually marry from the aristocratic class, which is the set that Diana is from. Once they treated her badly and she ended up unalived, marrying into the royals became something Aristos warned their daughters away from. Right? Let's not even mention all the Jane Does found around various royal and crown properties around the UK. Let's put it like that. Let's be subtle. During the times William dumped Kate, he dated Jecka Craig, who he really wanted to marry, but she broke up with him. Will still visits her when he goes to Africa and is involved with the Tusk Trust charity she's connected to. She seems really educated and concerned with conservation. Apparently, she's interested him in that type of work. Anyway, she got married and has kids. He also dated Isabella Calthorpe, who also dumped him and went on to marry the billionaire Richard Branson's son. Will dated others, but those two were the main ones. There were whispers he was trying to seriously court and, court with marriage as the goal. As Shira 7 tells us, sprinkle, sprinkle. William, at his core, is a snob. While he was dating Kate, a journalist asked him on camera if he was ever planning to propose to Kate, and he laughed in that journalist's face, as if it was preposterous. Kate has to know her class is a sore spot for William, which is why she has overcompensated by coaching up that overly posh fake accent, those rigid prim manners, and that staid way of dressing her kids in order not to embarrass him. It's 180 degrees from how she started out. If you have a really good look across the internet for images and photographs from her early years at university, articles about her antics at boarding school and on camera. Oh, she gave Paris Hilton, Britney Spears, and Lindsay Lohan a run for their money in terms of photographs of a certain sort. I'll put it like that. I encourage you to go a-looking, but, let's do some thinking and exploring to see how things between Will and Kate started and how we possibly ended up here. Let me know your thoughts, stars.